Welcome to the first episode of the Science and Tech PT special. Let's begin with our various topics that we are going to cover under this episode. As you can see, the picture right behind me is going to make us understand. First, we will talk about space technology, and we have divided the segments into first ISRO, NASA, then other space agencies, projects, and then new discoveries and more. Let's begin with the first one. Mostly, we are going to talk about the facts here, because it is all factual. Basically, you have to concentrate on the factual importance of science and technology. So IRNSS, that is Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, because India has time and again felt the presence of having its own navigation system, because first, security of India, second, reliability is an issue whenever we are talking about taking help from other countries such as US or Russia. So let's begin with the first thing. Now, Vice President has suggested ISRO to give a thrust to indigenously developed regional navigation satellite system, that is also known as NAVIC. Now, the Vice President is saying that we should take it up to global use as well, like GPS. So, IRNSS is Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, and it is a group of satellites. Navigation with Indian constellation is the short form NAVIC is for this only, okay? And the background with respect to this project is that it was approved by the government of India. You have to remember the time as well, because question could be asked in your preliminary examination, 2006. Okay, and this system is consisting of a constellation of different satellites, which are actually 7 in number. And IRNSS was renamed NAVIC by India's Prime Minister after the launch of the last constellation satellite, which was IRNSS-1G. So it began as IRNSS, later on it was renamed as NAVIC, okay? And the 3 satellites that are there, they stay in the geostationary orbit, and 4 are in the geosynchronous orbit. So basically, these satellites are very congruent with the real time that the Earth experiences, because they are present in the geostationary and geosynchronous orbit. Till date, ISRO has built a total of 9 satellites, and of which 8 have been successful. How many were made? 9, but 8 have been successful, because replacement also goes on. So ISRO has launched IRNSS-11 on 12th of April 2018 in order to replace IRNSS-1A, because replacement is a must whenever there is a new technology. Also, whenever the old ones start to become obsolete. It works just like the US GPS, like the GPS gives us real-time position. Similarly, for India, we have IRNSS, but there is a catch. There was also a prelims question with respect to this. 1500 kilometer, that means 1500 kilometer over the radius over the subcontinent of India only. So this number is very important for us. And satellite system with more satellites, they provide more accurate position. So first problem with this is huge investment first. Secondly, there will also become a problem, like as we are introducing more satellites every now and then, the space debris issue will also come to the fore. Okay, moving on. Now, it has been certified, if we talk about the ISRO IRNSS-Navic, by the 3rd generation partnership project, which is a global body for coordinating mobile telephony standards. IRNSS accepted as a component of worldwide radio navigation system as well. So if it is asked in prelims, if it is a part of worldwide navigation radio navigation system, yes, NAVIC is a part of it. Okay, and for operation in Indian Ocean region by International Maritime Organization, who has done it? IMO has done it. What are the potential application? First of all, terrestrial, aerial and marine navigation. All this is provided. Terrestrial, that means earth, aerial, that means land, aerial, that means air, and marine, that is the ocean system. And disaster management, whenever there is a disaster, we will know about the real-time problems, real-time situation of the problems that have been created by the disaster. Vehicle tracking and fleet management. So for traffic also, and what are the vehicles position, this is also going to play a very strong role. And integration with mobile phones, that is also there. And precise timing, as I'm saying real time, what is it? That means information about the actions at the time it is happening. This is real time. Mapping and geodetic data capture as well. Moving on. Now, significance is real-time information for 2 services, and this is standard positioning services. First is standard positioning service, that is open for civilian use, like people like us, and then restricted services. This is for encrypted information is given through restricted services to the military. Okay, and of course restricted, you can understand, it's available to a group of people. And India became one of the 5 countries to have its own navigation system. Very few countries in the world have it, and India is one of those. Okay, so let's see which navigation system belongs to which country. GPS, USA. It could be asked in your prelims examination to match them. GLONASS belongs to Russia. Galileo belongs to Europe. And Beidou, very powerful, belongs to China. Okay, so remember this. Moving on. Now let's talk about GAGAN. What is GAGAN? GAGAN is GPS aided geo-augmented navigation, and it's a joint effort of 2 authorities, Airport Authority of India and ISRO. So if it is ever asked in prelims that it is the effort, it has come into the to the fore by the efforts of Defense, Ministry of Defense and ISRO. No, it's AAI, Airports Authority of India and ISRO. The system provides seamless navigation across the map of regional boundaries, the GAGAN system. And now GAGAN signal in space, basically whatever important signals that are present in the space works through SIS. It is available with important satellites such as GSAT 8 and GSAT 10, not 9, not 11, not any other number, GSAT 8 and GSAT 10. Okay, what is the objective? Very simple. First of all, information is the utmost important objective of any satellite program, to provide satellite-based navigation services. Accuracy is there and integrity for civil aviation application. This is a catch for civil aviation, that means commercial aviation, civil aviation, and to provide better air traffic management over Indian airspace, not only for the seamless and better and safe navigation of the planes, but also for safety purposes from the perspective of the security of India. Alright, moving on. Now let's move on and talk about Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3, Chandrayaan-1. Any question could be formed from here. So remember that we have to know the chain of Chandrayaan-1, 2 and 3. What is the entire chain? So Chandrayaan-2 has detected solar photon events, and this is detected by the Large Area Soft X-ray Spectrometer, that is CLASS, that is a payload which is on board Chandrayaan-2 orbiter. Now solar photon events, that means it is related to the sun, the events which throw a lot of photons into the atmosphere of the space. It significantly increases radiation exposure to humans in space. So this is important for us to know whenever we are going to send our own astronauts through the Gaganyaan. So we have to know what are the disasters that are potential in the making for such missions. Okay, that is why this is important. And when the sun is active and the solar flare that occur, they spew out or they throw out important and supercharged energy into the interplanetary atmosphere. These are known as solar photon emission. Okay, we also have solar storms, solar flares and many other things. So most of the energy particles, they have high energy protons, and that is why they are known as solar photon events, like an episode. It is happening, it is in continuous of nature. And earlier it also recorded coronal mass ejection. This is also an event with respect to solar energy emission. Okay, moving on. Now if we talk about it, then SPE event was seen by NASA's geostationary operational environmental satellite. So GOES, this belongs to NASA. Remember that, tricky question could be formed. And the coronal mass ejection event was not detected by GOES. So if it is asked in prelims, GOES has detected both SPEs and CME. No, only SPE but not CME. Okay, and these are high energy proton impact space system. These impact the space system and also increase radiation exposure to humans. So the assets that we have in space in the form of satellite can also get impacted. That it already has been done, and it causes a lot of issue with respect to investment in satellites. If this is a potential threat, then of course they can cause ionization on large scale in Earth's middle atmosphere. So remember, which area would be impacted the most? Earth's middle atmosphere. All right, moving on. Now solar flares, these are magnetic plasma radiation, and they emanate from the surface of the sun, not the atmosphere but the surface of the sun, because sun has layers, right? So first that, and secondly, they are generated during the release of magnetic energy importantly, magnetic energy does a lot whenever we are talking about mass ejections. Okay, and many intense solar flares are accompanied by coronal mass ejections, leading to geomagnetic storm, or because it lights up the polar sky with auroras. Whenever electromagnetic effect occurs in the polar regions of the earth, that has been caused by mostly the sun's atmosphere, and that is the reason. Remember that the auroras, aurora australis, aurora borealis, this is because of the mass ejections of the sun, and because they ionize the particles in the polar atmosphere, those happen. Moving on. Now, if we talk about Chandrayaan-3, Chandrayaan-3 should go towards its journey in August 2022. This is the aspiration, and it is a follow-up of Chandrayaan-2. Now, if you remember, Chandrayaan-2 was not successful whenever it was talked about soft landing. Soft landing is important. If because of hard landing, the equipments can get destructed. So that is the first thing that we have to do in Chandrayaan-3. We have to do soft landing on the moon surface, and that if happens, India will become the 4th country in the world to do so, and it will have a modified lander and rover. So if you remember the names of lander and rover of Chandrayaan-2, can you please comment about them in the comment section? It will use the orbiter of Chandrayaan-2 mission, which is already there, and the communication is with respect to the orbiter only. So orbiter is functionable. Other than that, the other equipments will be there in Chandrayaan-3. An orbiter module will also accompany. A module will accompany, whose work will be limited to taking the lander to the moon and monitoring the surface, landing surface from the orbit. Okay, let's move on and talk about other missions of ISRO. These were the major ones. Let's talk about the other minor ones. So ISRO's former chairman K. Sivan, he gave details about the agency's plans for the future, such as Gaganyaan, which will be India's first human space mission. Okay, so training is already going on in Russia for the astronauts to do so. So ISRO will execute many missions this year. Let's see, launch of next in a series of Earth observation satellite. Now, Earth observation satellite is basically to aim towards the observation of the Earth. That means in order to know about the weather and climate, glacier melting, and disaster management, and what is the forest cover, everything is done by EOS, Earth Observation Satellite, and that will be onboard Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. The workhorse of this is PSLV is known as the workhorse. Okay, workhorse of ISRO. Okay, let's move on and talk about the next more. The next include Chandrayaan-3, Aditya L1. Aditya L1 is to study the atmosphere and the many facets related to the sun, Aditya L1. Then ExpoSat IRNSS and Technology Demonstration Mission. Technology Demonstration Mission is basically to demonstrate the capability of a technology, simple as that. And these have advanced indigenously developed technologies on board. NASA and ISRO joint mission NISAR. It will be launched in 2023. You have to be very careful with the year in which any mission is going to be launched. Okay, so India's mission to Venus, Chandrayaan, it is expected to be launched in 2024. Shukra is the Hindi for the planet Venus in India. So Chandrayaan is related to Venus 2024. Now Disha disturbed and quiet type system at high altitude. Now this is a twin satellite system, not single but twin satellite system 2, and this will study Earth's upper atmosphere. That means aeronomy. Aeronomy is upper atmosphere. Okay. Trishna, thermal infrared imaging satellite for high resolution natural resource assessment. It is meant for accurate mapping of land surface temperature. Climate change is a real thing, so we have to be very robust with our understanding of it. So Trishna is related to climate change. You can understand surface temperature, Earth's surface temperature. Okay, moving on. Aditya L1 will study the sun's corona, as I told you. Coronal mass ejections that we have already discussed. It will also carry out round-the-clock imaging of the sun. We have to understand many things that are related to sun in order to understand our own solar system. L1 is basically Lagrange point 1. What is Lagrange points? These are positions in space where the gravitational forces of two body systems. Suppose there are two body, Earth and Sun and Jupiter, let's see. And because of the high gravitational force of these two bodies, one point will be there, that will be a region which will have repulsion and attraction. Okay, that means it will be stable. One will attract, one will repel. So that is why what will happen? The region will stay stable. Okay, these can be used by spacecraft to reduce their fuel consumption because they don't have to hover constantly and to remain in position. Very simple. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about other missions of ISRO. A satellite placed in the halo orbit L1 has the major advantage of continuous viewing of the sun, no occultation and eclipses because of the position itself. Okay, so you have to understand these two are the advantages. If it is asked in prelims, you know what to take. And ExpoSat will be launched to study cosmic radiation, the radiation in space. Gaganyaan mission, if we talk about it, the human space flight module of Gaganyaan will be launched after the second unmanned mission planned in 2022-23. Okay, and Gaganyaan is by ISRO. Under the Gaganyaan schedule, 3 flights will be sent into your orbit. Remember, it could be asked as a statement in prelims. 3 flights will be sent into the orbit. Okay, and if we talk about it, there will be 2 unmanned flights and 1 human space flight. Okay, Gaganyaan system module, which is called the orbital module, will have 3 Indian astronauts. And for women empowerment, we have also the participation of a woman. So 3 Indian astronauts will be there, 3 flights will be there, 1 will be manned and 2 others will be unmanned, and a woman will be there along with 2 others. So 3 is something that we have to remember. It will circle the Earth in the low Earth orbit. So where will it be placed? Low Earth orbit. Okay. The altitude will be 300 to 400 kilometers from Earth for 5 to 7 days. And the payload will consist of a crew module, spacecraft crew module, that means where the crew will be placed. Okay. So this is a spacecraft which will carry human beings. Service module is powered by 2 liquid propellant. So whatever, if there is a need of service provision, service module will be there. And it will be equipped with emergency escape and also emergency mission aboard in order for for ensuring that safety is the thing. Now Gaganyaan mission GSLV Mark III, which is the 3-stage heavy lift launch vehicle. It will be used to launch Gaganyaan. Sometimes it happens, the simplest of the things we are unable to understand from the perspective of prelims. If I replace GSLV Mark III with PSLV, will you be able to answer this question correctly? No, because PSLV is not there. It's GSLV Mark III. Okay, it has the necessary payload capability. Remember that. Also, GSLV Mark III called the LVM3 or Launch Vehicle Mark III. So don't get confused. Both are the same. Okay, moving on. The major mission under Gaganyaan: test vehicle flight for validation of crew escape. So whenever there is a need of crew escape to abort the mission, test vehicle flight. And Vyomitra. What is Vyomitra? A space farming human robot developed by ISRO. So who developed Vyomitra? Not Russia, not USA, but ISRO has done it. So first crewed Gaganyaan mission, we have discussed this, that it is in 2023. Significance is of course very important. To send a human being into space is something which every country on the planet wants to achieve, because it gives them an enhanced position on the map of the world whenever we are demonstrating our science and technology. And Gaganyaan will involve many agencies. So coordination power will also be shown with the help of launching our Gaganyaan into the space. And it will help in the improvement of industrial growth. More investment will be there if we are able to do it. People from abroad will start investing in India with respect to commercial space flight. That could also happen. Private sector engagement. Okay, now let's talk about GSAT-7. What is it? GSAT-7, the Ministry of Defense has given acceptance. Now there is Ministry of Defense factor in GSAT-7. GSAT-7B satellite. It will be a dedicated satellite for the Indian Army. So you have to remember, if it is asked in the prelims, which of the following satellites is a dedicated one for the Indian Army, that is GSAT-7B. Okay, it would help the Indian Army to strengthen its surveillance capability and make the country more secure. Also, India has only 2 dedicated military satellites. Remember them. GSAT-7, that is Rukmini. It is used by Indian Navy. So match the following can be asked from this information. GSAT-7 is Rukmini, used by Indian Navy. GSAT-7A is the Angry Bird and it is used by the Air Force. Okay, and GSAT-7B will become Indian Army's, the terrestrial Army's role helper basically. Indian Army has been dependent on GSAT-7A, that is Angry Bird of the Indian Air Force, and other satellites. Now, the military grade satellite will be a force multiplier in providing fail-safe communication support. Also, it will become more safer because we have to be careful whenever, as an army, the people are talking in the army to each other, the messages should be encrypted. So India needs its own satellite with respect to it. GSAT-7B will fulfill the communication needs of the army by using vast array of radio communication equipment that will come under a single platform. It is India's first military satellite, 7A-7B. This is a trio, and it is developed by ISRO. Okay, provides a gamut of services for military communication, and it also includes low bit voice rate to high bit rate data facilities depending, and it includes multi-band communication. And it was launched, if we talk about GSAT-7, the parent basically we can say, it was launched back in 2013. So if there is a question with respect to the year, 2013 is the correct answer, where from an Ariane 5 ECA rocket from Kourou in French Guiana. It's mainly used by Indian Navy. It helps the Navy to have a secure real-time communication. Indian Navy has to be very careful with its communication services. So GSAT-7 is something that it is helping. Okay, moving on, let's talk about the next topic, that is other kind of military satellites that India has. Okay, let's cover it. Electromagnetic Intelligence Gathering Satellite, that is EMISAT. It was launched very recently in April 2020 through a PSLV. Okay, then it has an electronic intelligence package which is called Kautilya. It allows the interception of ground-based radar. It carries out electronic surveillance across India. Now next is RISAT-2B RI, Synthetic Aperture Radar Imaging Satellite. It was launched in December 2019 from Sriharikota. Why have we kept the years intact? Because a prelims question could be made. Okay, NASA and ISRO are collaborating on developing an SUV-sized satellite called NISAR. It will detect movement of the planet's surface as small as 0.4 inches over areas about half the size of tennis court. Satellite will be launched in 2022, this year, from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. Okay, and NISAR is short for NASA, ISRO, and SAR is Synthetic Aperture Radar. Okay, it will be used to measure changes in the surface of the Earth. So if you understand whatever satellites are there with respect to changes in the surface of the Earth, you can understand that it can go from weather, climate, forest cover, many things. Okay, the radar can penetrate through clouds and darkness. That means it can collect data day and night. If it is ever asked in the prelims, it can work only in the day. NISAR, no, it can cover the entire surface day and night. Okay, moving on, it's a 3-year mission. Again, it's important to know. It will scan the globe every 12 days. This is very important. This could become a prelims tricky question if days are interchanged with the years. Over 3 years, it will imagine the Earth's land, ice caps, sheets, and to give unprecedented view of the planet so that better policy planning can be done. Now, role of NASA, that because NASA and ISRO have come together, so there is a delineation of role. For NASA, we have the delineation. One of the radars for the satellite, it will provide a high rate communication subsystem, GPS receiver and payload data subsystem. NISAR will be equipped with the largest reflector antenna which has ever been launched by NASA. So it has an advantage over other satellites. So if it is asked in prelims, which of the following satellites will be equipped with the largest reflector antenna that NASA has ever developed or deployed, it's NISAR. Okay, moving on. Role of ISRO is we will provide spacecraft bus, which is and the second type of radar, that is S-band radar, and the launch vehicle and associated launch services. Primary goals is, of course, what are the changes in the Earth's surface, be it volcano eruptions, and it will also help to monitor groundwater supply so that we know what is our status with respect to water on the Earth, the hydrological situation, tracking the rate at which ice sheets are melting. So it covers everything. As I told you, Earth observation satellites have this advantage. Okay. Now let's talk about semi-cryogenic propellant tank. The Hindustan Aeronautics Limited has delivered the heaviest. Who has delivered the heaviest semi-cryogenic propellant tank to Indian Space Research Organization. So you have to remember the name of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Who has done it? HAL has done it, and the name is SC120L0X. So if it is asked in the examination, what this name would be given, SC120LOX, which has recently been in the news, refers to which of the following? Semi-cryogenic propellant tank will be one of the options, so you have to make sure that you tick correct. Moving on, let's know about the semi-cryogenic propellant tank. So cryogenic has to be something which is stored at a very, very cool temperature. Okay, it is intended for payload enhancement by replacing L110 stage in the existing M3 launch vehicle, and it is if we talk about GSLV Mark 3, it's a 3-stage heavy lift launch vehicle which has been developed by ISRO. It has 2 solid straps, a core liquid booster, and a cryogenic upper stage. Remember this. Cryogenic engine is the last stage of space launch vehicles. It makes the use of cryogenics, and it is the study of production and behavior of materials at extremely low temperatures. Okay, so extremely low temperatures is there whenever it happens. This is known as cryogenics. Okay, it uses propellants such as liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. So remember the difference in the temperature. Okay, minus 183 degrees Celsius and 253 degrees Celsius. Semi-cryogenic engine, it uses refined kerosene instead of liquid hydrogen. This is a very important question. Question could be made. Remember this very well. Now, semi-cryogenic engine uses refined kerosene. If I replace kerosene with petrol, diesel, no, only kerosene you have to remember. Okay, instead of liquid hydrogen. Here liquid hydrogen is not used. That is why semi-cryogenic propellant. The liquid oxygen is used as an oxidizer. So remember like this, oxygen as an oxidizer, oxygen oxidizer, and refined kerosene as fuel in place of liquid hydrogen. Advantages is lighter than liquid fuel, can be stored at normal temperatures. Kerosene combined with liquid oxygen, it provides a higher thrust for rocket. So what are the advantages of semi-cryogenic propellant? First is provides a higher thrust for rocket. That means more chances of getting launched into the space. And refined kerosene, it occupies less space, and because of that more compartment is freed for the propellant. Okay, so we are increasing our chances of a successful launch, and it's more powerful, also environmental friendly, and also cost effective. Everything is there. ISRO's Earth observation satellite EOS-4 and 2 small satellites were successfully placed by PSLV. And Earth observation satellite, as we have already discussed, is for Earth observation, and this particular was the EOS-4 flight satellite launching, was the 54th flight of PSLV. Remember this could be asked. And S. Somnath, an eminent rocket scientist, he has been appointed as the chairman of ISRO and the space secretary as well. So you see, this is amazing news. He played a major role in the development of PSLV and GSLV. It might not be asked, but still just go through. Okay. He joined the GSLV Mark 3 project as well in 2003 as project director. He is an expert in the areas of system engineering of launch vehicles. Also contributed to the development of indigenous cryogenic stages of GSLV. Now let's look at our prelims question. With reference to AstroSat, the astronomical observatory launched by India, which of the following statements is or are correct? Other than the USA and Russia, India is the only country to have launched a similar observatory into the space. AstroSat is a 2000 kg satellite placed in an orbit at 1650 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. None of them are correct. That is why D is the correct answer. Next is with respect to Mangalyaan launched by ISRO. It's also known as Mars Orbiter Mission. Made India the second country to have a spacecraft orbit the Mars after US, and made India the only country to be successful in making its spacecraft orbit the Mars in its very first attempt. The correct answer is apart from the second one. 1 and 3 are correct. That is why C is the correct answer. Next is with reference to India's satellite launch vehicle. We have to consider the statements. PSLVs launched the satellites useful for Earth resources monitoring, whereas GSLVs are designed mainly to launch communication satellites. Satellites launched by PSLV appear to remain permanently fixed in the same position, in the sky as viewed from a particular location. And GSLV Mark III is the 4-stage launch vehicle with the first and third stages using solid rocket motors and second and fourth stages using liquid rocket engines. If you have followed this segment right now, you will easily answer A. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration Perseverance Rover. So Perseverance Rover is related to Mars and it is belonging to NASA. Okay. This was one of the most crucial aspects of Mars 2020 mission. So remember the year as well. Mission is designed to better understand what is the geology of Mars. Whenever we are trying to explore planets, it's obviously to make sure that we get resources from those planets, because we are using Earth like we have many more planets to use, and maybe colonization as well. Seek signs of ancient life. Objectives is to assess ancient habitability and also technology demonstration so that in future we can have more technology placed there. So duration is at least 1 Mars year, that is 687 Earth days, almost 2 years of Earth. Okay. Mission steps is to first we have to collect the rocks and soil samples which are in cigar sized tubes. It will be collected and canisters will be sealed. Mars Fetch Rover is also there, which is who is providing the Fetch Rover. Remember, if it is asked, the European Space Agency is doing so, and it will land on Mars, collect the samples and return to the lander. Transfer will also happen to the Mars Ascent Vehicle and it will meet an orbiter. So you can see the stages are so well thoroughly developed, right? And return, of course, whatever the samples will be brought back to Earth, those will be studied, and whenever we need a technology for furthering that, we will get through the samples. Perseverance Rover is the most advanced, most expensive, most sophisticated mobile laboratory. It's basically a laboratory. Remember that if it is asked, tricky question could be made. It's a laboratory. It has been sent to Mars because it is different from the previous missions, as it is capable of drilling and collecting source samples. Very important. It drills and collects core samples. Okay, not source samples. I said source. Sorry for that. Core samples for the most promising rocks and soils, and then setting them aside in a cache on the surface of Mars. Where is the landing site? Jezero crater. So if it is asked in prelims, where is Jezero crater found? So you know where is it found? In Mars. NASA's miniature robo helicopter Ingenuity has performed a successful takeoff and landing on Mars. It was the first powered control flight on another planet. So if it is asked which amongst the following is the first powered control flight on another planet, it's Ingenuity of NASA. Moving on. It's the first helicopter to fly on which planet? Again, Mars is there. Mars, we are very interested after the moon. Okay. It was carried by NASA's rover called Perseverance. Again, a connection. It was launched in July 2020 and it is able to fly using counter-rotating blades. So if a technology is asked with respect to prelims, counter-rotating blades is the correct answer. Okay. It has a wireless communication system and is equipped with computers, navigation sensors and 2 cameras. It is solar powered, which is able to charge on its own. And mission of the helicopter is to experiment, and it is completely independent of the rover's science mission. So if it is asked that these two are interconnected, Ingenuity and Perseverance, no, they are independent of their own experiments. Okay. It will help collect samples from the surface. Again, sample is very important. Whenever the rover can't reach, helicopter is there. Okay. Although independent, yet supplementary to each other. Its performance during these experimental test flights will help form decisions about small helicopters for future Mars missions. Let's talk about Viper mission, which is Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration Rover, or Viper. That is to be launched in 2023, Viper 2023. Okay. Do one thing in your notebook, write the year, and write after that by, segmentization, write the space agencies and the countries, and write the names of the missions like that. Okay. The mission to understand if it's possible for human to have a life on its own by using local available resources. So whatever available resources are there, if humans can use and stay there, why not? And the Viper mission is a mobile robo. Remember that. It is the first resource mapping mission on any other celestial body. Another very important thing. See, first helicopter, first resource mapping, all these are keywords. So do remember them. Okay. And NASA's commercial lunar payload services will be providing a launch vehicle and lander for what is going to be a 100-day mission. Objective is to explore the moon's south pole region, help create lunar resource map, evaluate the concentration of water as well as other potential resources, inform future landing sites under the Artemis program. Remember this very well. Artemis program, do Google about it. To help determine locations where water and other resources can be harvested to sustain humans. So water is the utmost important thing. We are searching for water on moon. We are searching for water on Mars. So you know water is so important. Moving on. Now, if we talk about NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft, which has been departed from asteroid Bennu, we have this very archaic asteroid Bennu, which can give us information about the formation of the solar system. That is why now it has come back to Earth. It's NASA's first mission. Who has launched this mission? NASA. NASA's first mission to visit a near-Earth asteroid, survey its surface, collect sample. OSIRIS-REx's origins, spectral interpretation, resource identification, security, regolith explorer, and it is the United States' first asteroid sample return mission. Remember, USA's or NASA's, okay? And it aims to collect and carry a pristine, unaltered sample from an asteroid back to Earth for scientific study. Now, significance is that scientists will use the asteroid sample and know about the solar system, how the origin happened, what are the chances of another life on another planet or asteroid, and it will also distribute a part of the sample to laboratories worldwide so that every agency in the world can have some insight about the solar system. Also, it will reserve about 75% of sample for future generations. So remember how much is to be used sustainably for future generations? 75%, okay? Who can study it with technologies not yet created. Now, NASA has announced that its new spacecraft named Near-Earth Asteroid Scout or NEA Scout has completed all required tests and it has been safely tucked inside the Space Launch System rocket. Let's not talk about NEA. It is a miniaturized spacecraft, that means small air spacecraft known as CubeSat, okay? And also it is developed under NASA's Advanced Exploration System program. Main mission is to fly by and collect data from near-Earth asteroid. Very easy to remember that. Moving on, it provides critical information on the asteroid's physical properties such as orbit, shape, volume, rotation, the dust and debris field surrounding it, its surface properties. Now let's talk about Hubble Space Telescope. NASA has returned the science instruments on Hubble Space Telescope to operational status and it was suspended due to trouble with their computer. The Hubble Space Telescope. Let us first of all know something about the Hubble Space Telescope because a good prelims question can be asked from here. It was named after astronomer Edwin Hubble and the first major optical telescope to be placed in the entire universe was the Hubble Space Telescope. It has made groundbreaking discovery into the field of astronomy since its launch. Where has it been placed? Into low Earth orbit. Okay, remember certain things about it. Okay, in 1990. So we know right now the year after whom it was named and where it is situated with respect to orbit, and it is a part of NASA's Great Observatories program, a family of 4 space-based observatories, each observing the universe in a different kind of light. Expansion of the universe was observed by it. Collision of 2 dwarf galaxies led to the formation of a new star. So if it is asked in the prelims examination, which of the following discoveries were a discovery of Hubble Space Telescope? These might be the given options. You have to choose the correct ones. And the GUM-29, which is a vibrant stellar being ground, was captured in 2014. Captured the disintegration of an ancient comet 3332P Ikea Murakami in 2016. James Webb Space Telescope is believed to be a successor to Hubble. James Webb Space Telescope completed the final post-launch course collection and helped insert the world's most powerful space telescope towards its final orbit, L2, or the Sun-Earth Lagrange point that we have already talked about. Now let's talk in bit about James Webb Space Telescope. It is the most powerful infrared. The keyword here is infrared telescope of the National Aeronautics and Space Limited, that is NASA. All right, and also considered as a successor of the Hubble Space Telescope. This is a good prelims question, remember that. And it's a result of an international collaboration between NASA, European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency. So collaborators name, successor, the predecessor of James Webb is Hubble and vice versa is for successor of Hubble is James Webb. Remember that, okay, not the otherwise thing. So Webb will reveal new and unexpected discoveries. Let's see what humanity understands from the perspective of origin of the universe. It will study atmosphere of wide diversity of exoplanets, and it will also search for atmospheres similar to Earth. Okay, so important aspirations of this particular telescope should also be remembered. Moving on. Now, goal is to search for first galaxies. This is the primary goal, okay, that formed after the Big Bang, to search for the first galaxies. If it is asked in the prelims, the primary goal, you have to make sure that you know the answer. To determine how galaxies evolved from their earlier formation, to observe the formation of stars from the first stage to the formation of planetary system, and also measure physical and chemical properties of planetary system to investigate the potential for life in such systems. Now let's talk about Landsat 9. NASA has launched an Earth monitoring satellite called Landsat 9. So what is by the land keyword here is Landsat, land. So by land we mean observing the land, okay, observing the Earth. So this is an Earth observation satellite, and it is referred to as NASA's new eye in the sky. Which of the following satellites are known as NASA's new eye in the sky? It is Landsat 9. Landsat 9, and it will help in understanding what is all up with climate change. Also, let's move on to the next part. Landsat 9 is the continuation of a series of Earth observation spacecraft. It is not independent. First Landsat satellite was launched in the year 1972, something to be remembered. And in 2008, it was decided that all Landsat images will be made free of cost to the public, so that the information with respect to formation of troubles on the Earth can be used for policy making, any disaster management as well. It has helped scores of researchers, farmers, policy analysts, and glaciologists as well. Glaciologists who study the glaciers. Seismologists are related to earthquakes and tectonic movements. Landsat images have been used to study health of forest, coral reef, monitor water quality and melting glaciers, because it is an Earth observation satellite. Earth observatory satellites are used for these purposes only. So Landsat 9 joins Landsat 8. Landsat 8 was launched in the year 2013. Okay, and it takes 8 days to capture the whole Earth. How many days? 8 days. Remember that as well. Landsat 9 carries instruments which are similar to the other Landsat satellites. That is why it is a continuation. And it is the most technologically advanced. Which one is the most technologically advanced? Landsat 9 is. Remember this as well. So, the instruments which are aboard Landsat 9 are Operational Land Imager 2 and Thermal Infrared Sensor 2. And with EU's Sentinel-2 satellite, the Landsat satellites will provide better estimation of the extent of climate change. So Sentinel is related to European Union, remember this. And with the help of these two supplementary satellites, we will know all about the climate change. Moving on. So next is DART mission. It is launched by NASA. It will be launched by NASA, and its first planetary defense test mission system. That means if any asteroid or any astronomical body is coming towards Earth, which could be a planet killer, so we have to know that with the help of DART, we will be able to deviate it. Okay, it is known as it's the acronym for Double Asteroid Redirection Test. Remember this. DART, like you throw darts to deviate something, suppose. Similarly, this particular mission, it will be launched on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. So you have to remember the full form of this. It could be asked, and by which it will be launched, the rocket's name. Okay, moving on. Now this mission wants to test any new technology with respect to the objective of making Earth safe, and to test newly developed technology that would allow a spacecraft also to crash into an asteroid and change its course. The target of the spacecraft is a small moonlet which is known as Dimorphos. It is the Greek word for two forms, like metamorphic. Morphos means to change form. Two form. Di means two. Okay. Also, Dimorphos basically orbits a larger asteroid whose name is Didymos. So, it could be asked in prelims, Didymos orbits Dimorphos, but no. Dimorphos orbits Didymos, which is Greek for twin. Okay. And basically it's a suicide mission, because in the process of this entire action, it will destroy itself and the spacecraft will be completely destroyed. The collision is expected to take place between 26th September and 1st October this year only. Now, Parker Solar Probe, let's know about it. The Parker Solar Probe, it has become the first spacecraft to fly through the outer atmosphere of the sun corona, and it has saved itself. This is a big achievement. And the spacecraft flew through corona and also sampled the magnetic field so that we can know the magnetic storms that sun throws out. Now, if we talk about the Parker Solar Probe mission, it is of NASA, remember that, and it was launched in the year 2018, second thing to be remembered. Okay, and the purpose was very clear, that this particular probe had to observe the coronal atmosphere. It is a part of NASA's Living with Stars program, so it is under that only. It is a sub-plan of that, and it explores the aspect of Sun-Earth system, remember that directly affect life and society, and trace at the flow of energy that heats and accelerates the coronal solar wind, because we have to know and understand about the solar photon events and also the coronal mass ejections, and determine the structure and dynamics of the plasma and magnetic fields, of course. Explore mechanisms that accelerate and transport energetic particles. So what is the cause of these particles to be so energetic? Are there any chances of knowing that we can predict coronal mass ejection? Everything will be done with the help of this probe. It was named Parker Solar Probe because they wanted to honor the astrophysicist Eugene Newman Parker. Okay, first two names are more important. What if they change the first two names and keep every other person's surname as Parker? So he coined the term solar wind. So it could also be asked, who coined the term solar wind? Eugene Newman Parker. Okay, solar wind by Eugene Newman Parker. Moving on, let's talk about Parker Solar Probe more. Solar Dynamic Observatory, launched in 2010 by NASA. Major goal of Solar Dynamic Observatory is to better understand the solar activity. Magnetospheric Multi-Scale Mission, launched in 2015 by NASA. Now it investigates how the sun's and earth's magnetic field connect and disconnect. So it can also be asked, like, you have there is the name of the mission and what the aims are. So sometimes you have to remember the aims as well, so you can match them properly. Okay, moving on, let's talk about our next point, that is Aditya L1, which we have already discussed. It's by ISRO, which is set to be launched. MUSE is multi-slit solar explorer. Okay, it's Helios and also Heliosome, two new mission of NASA. Okay, this is with respect to, of course, solar mission, and it is set to launch Lucy, its first mission to explore the Jupiter Trojan asteroids. Okay, now let us have a look at our science and technology PT question. The experiment will employ a trio of spacecrafts flying in formation in the shape of an equilateral triangle that has sides 1 million kilometer long, with lasers shining between the craft. The experiment in the question refers to Voyager 2, New Horizon, LISA Pathfinder, Evolved LISA. Okay, so Evolved LISA is the correct answer. We will try to bring more current affairs with respect to science and technology in the next few episodes. Be engaged, and thank you so much for watching.